Hello again, Ken Krager here from Black Swan Financial Advisors. We're talking about legacy planning, why it's important. This is part 2. I did a little introduction, just a reminder, disclaimer, everything in this video on my website, all the information I share is for educational and informational purposes only, and is not to be considered investment advice. So anyway, part 2, we're going to talk more specifically about probate and what happens if you have to go through probate and you don't have a trust. So like I said, I know some families that don't have a trust. They say their siblings are going to take care of their child with a disability. And we'll get into how circumstances change and siblings get married and they move away and all kinds of stuff like that. But we'll do that in part 3. So let's talk a little bit about probate. I was trying to find some advantages of your estate after you pass on, actually having to go through probate. And so these are the advantages. The probate is a public process and your creditors get involved. And so the government will help make sure that all your bills are paid. So that's an advantage, I guess. Taxes. The government, again, will make sure that you pay all your taxes. And supervision. The court decides what happens to your estate. They supervise the administration of the estate. And they make sure that the executor and stuff do everything they're supposed to. So, if you want the government to do it, then go through probate. So anyway, sarcastically, I mean, those definitely don't sound like advantages to me. So, what are the disadvantages of having to go through probate? And probably the biggest one is it's time consuming. It can take months or years for your estate to get through probate. And that means that your assets are tied up and they're not available for your children or whoever is going to inherit the estate. They're not available for them to use. They can't go spend the money. They can't use the house. I mean, it takes a long time, and it's been getting longer and longer since COVID. It's costly. Probate can be expensive. You have to pay legal fees, attorney's fees, court fees. These costs can eat into the value of the estate, leaving less assets for your children. Probate is public. That means your whole estate, everything that's going on, all your business is out in front of anybody and everybody. Again, your creditors, everybody, right? So probate is a public process, a public record, and this is an invasion of your privacy for your family. There's limited control. If that's a huge disadvantage of probate. The executor and administrator of the estate gets appointed by the court, and so you might have somebody deciding what to do with your estate that you didn't even want, right? So the court decides that. So flexibility and control. Probate can be very inflexible, and it doesn't take into account special situations like your child with special needs and unique requests of the beneficiaries. So again, waiting on the government and then having the government decide what's going to happen to your family and your child with special needs. No privacy, we mentioned that already. And the possibility of disputes. Probate can also lead to disputes among the beneficiaries, between the beneficiaries, the creditors, and everybody else. So again, the delays, the time, the inconvenience. You have to go to court. You got to talk to lawyers, all that kind of stuff. So what can you do to avoid probate? You need a trust, especially in a special needs situation, you actually need several trusts, and one of those needs to be a special needs trust, because if you use a traditional trust and it gets set up and you leave any assets to your disabled child, then the state can take those assets and you can disqualify them from having government benefits. And so it's really, really important for you to talk to a qualified attorney that does special needs trusts. And I have some attorneys that I work with. You can contact me and I can help you, guide you through this process. If you have a trust, you have privacy. Okay, so all the disadvantages of going through probate are advantages when you have a trust, because a trust, your estate does not go through probate. It's private. The government does not get involved. You have control and flexibility with your assets and how they get distributed, and they can be used right away, and there's no delays, and there's a protection of assets. You can protect assets from creditors and legal judgments and future divorce settlements or whatever. This is super important because some debts and so forth shouldn't be paid by the kids, you might say. And then the management of those assets, you have direct control. You decide what's going to happen to your estate. You decide who's going to manage, who's going to be the trustee, the executor, guardians, and so forth. So it's just super important for you to avoid probate if possible. It will save you money and time and headache and all those just horrible things. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to part 2, legacy planning, financial security for your loved ones with special needs, and stay tuned for part 3, where we will get into a little bit more about family, siblings, and just, circumstances can change. Again, this is for educational and informational purposes only. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.